Hello, everybody. My name is Ray. Welcome to the Evangelical Dark Web. Today, I want to talk about J.D. Hall. This is a very sad story to me. This is a very impactful story to me, and I want to talk about it. I know I come across as a little late to the party on this story, but in reality, I'm not because, first of all, I wrote about this at the beginning of the month, so I'm not late to the party on this. Secondly, I've had a lot of personal things going on because of the Maryland gubernatorial primary election. So I've been working a lot on that. More updates on that for this channel to come. I'll talk more about that later. But today we're going to talk about J.D. Hall. So I want to first start off by saying, by the way, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I want to first start off by saying I've never spoken nor met J.D. Hall. I don't know J.D. Hall. So let me just disclose the relationship between Evangelical Dark Web and Protestia. And that is to say there is none. We're both allies in this fight of discernment, forwarding the gospel and apologetics and all that other stuff. And Christian news. We're allies in that. Protestia has curated articles from Evangelical Dark Web. And I've had David Morrill on my live stream on Evangelical Dark Web, the Evangelical Dark Web's Southern Baptist Convention live stream. David Morrill joined as a late panelist, the one that was nuked from YouTube. So, and I've had many social media interactions with David Morrill. I've not had really any communication with J.D. Hall. So, I also want to emphasize that when I created Evangelical Dark Web, when I founded Evangelical Dark Web, I wanted to be myself, not an imitation or a prodigy of someone else. I've always liked J.D. Hall, but I've never wanted to be like J.D. Hall. I want to do my own thing with this. So some of the key differences being that I think Protestia pearl clutches a little bit too much. And I also wanted to expose lesser known but just as dangerous false teachers, which turned into me writing about potential false teachers that you in the audience or reader base want me to research. So that's what I've done at Evangelical Dark Web. Now we're the future of Christian news, in my opinion. That's where we're going. So I've always liked J.D. Hall, but I've never wanted to be like J.D. Hall. That's just a summation of this disclosure. So first thing I want to talk about is J.D. Hall is permanently disqualified. And I say permanently. Based on if everything that's reported about him is true, he's permanently disqualified in my book. It was initially reported that J.D. Hall was disqualified for a Xanax addiction, and this was to my relief. When I heard and read that he was disqualified from ministry, my first thought was fentanyl. That was my first thought. I thought it was a drug addiction to something really hard. And when I found out it was Xanax, which is a little more benign than, one of the most dangerous drugs in the United States, I was a little bit relieved. But in any case, this would have made him in violation of 1 Timothy 3:2 by any equitable application of our understanding of temperance. But evidently, more has come out. The police are involved. Allegations have emerged about domestic violence and embezzlement. The latter was a crime committed by Judas himself. Judas Iscariot stole from the ministry of Christ. Whereas with Xanax, I was under the impression that J.D. Hall could be restored to ministry. With embezzlement, I think that's permanently disqualifying. And that's before we talk about domestic violence, which also is disqualifying because you are not managing your own household well if you have to resort to violence against your own spouse and children. So theological liberals are jumping on Protestia. I want to talk about Protestia for a minute here because somehow the people at Protestia should have known what J.D. Hall's personal life was like, how his private sin, they should have known about that. And I think that is asinine. I think that they're motivated by their egalitarian feminism than they are the truth of the matter. I think Protestia actually handled this quite well. They removed J.D. Hall from ministry. They basically canceled J.D. Hall. And they're repackaging and stuff and moving on. I think that was the right thing to do. Protestia is not named Jordan Hall Ministries. It's not named Jordan Hall Ministries. It's not named J.D. Hall Ministries. J.D. Hall is not the namesake of the ministry, which means the ministry can continue on without him. They have a mission to complete. And I say this as a competitor to Protestia. I'm a competitor to Protestia, but I'm saying I'm glad that they're still in this. A friendly competitor, but nonetheless, for instance, Ravi Zacharias International Ministries is named after Ravi Zacharias, who turned out to be a reprobate womanizer. There's no reason that that ministry should continue because he was the mission. He was the ministry. Jordan Hall has increasingly or decreasingly been active in Protestia. He's not been active a whole lot in Protestia this past in 2022. He's mostly been doing other things. So pair that with the fact that Protestia is a remote operation, like they have various people living all across North America. They don't meet in an office one day. This is a remote ministry. They are not, they're not meeting in the office. They don't see each other in person. It is very easy to have hidden that. And when J.D. Hall has notoriously poor health, he notoriously has poor health, which explains a lot of his appearance, and thus takes your mind off of drug addiction. So I don't blame them. Now, is this to say that the church should have known? Fellowship Baptist Church in Sydney, Montana, should they have known better? That's a fairer criticism. I think that is a much fairer criticism than a remote ministry, that the ministry he interacts with on a daily basis should have known. I think that is a much fairer criticism. That's not the criticism I'm going to make in this video, but that is a much fairer criticism. And what I will say about that is when it comes to embezzlement, it was likely due to not following basic accounting principles and in apparent misguided trust of J.D. Hall's handling of money. Unless J.D. Hall took all this money at once, maybe caught him sleeping and took the money at once, they probably violated basic accounting principles in that the person who counts the money should not be handling the money. This is just basic accounting principles. And in that case, they should have had better safeguards in place. Another thing to note is that the church did not disclose the other allegations which they knew about when they disclosed the Xanax addiction and their initial statement on the disqualification of J.D. Hall. I would say they weren't transparent to the point of deceiving the public about how bad the situation really was. I would say that, and I think a normal person would say that as well. I'm not going to play favorites on my assessment of this, so, just because I like the people. I'm not going to play favorites on that. They, in my opinion, were not honest. And one elder has gone on the record. Christian posted an article about this with an elder on the record disapproving of how the church handled the issue. And here's probably the most disturbing article of all, or detail of all, perhaps, debatably, is that J.D. Hall is not really adhering to church discipline process. Now, the initial statement was written a while ago, and a lot could have changed from then. The initial statement implied or explicitly stated that J.D. Hall was submitting to church discipline process. I believe Protestia has been under the impression that, likewise, that J.D. Hall has been participating in the church discipline process. This is a new account saying that J.D. Hall is not participating in the church discipline process. That's troubling to me. That's really troubling. All of this is bad as it is, but, in terms of the salvation of a soul, he needs to submit to church discipline process. It's part of persevering in the faith. It's part of the perseverance of the saints, is to not fall away over a reproach. I've seen a pastor fall away from a reproach like this, and I don't want to see that again. And this elder also said that church attendance at Fellowship Baptist Church has dropped roughly 50%. Because, people are angry, and justifiably so. They're also hurt. So the last question I want to answer is J.D. Hall a false teacher? Evangelical Dark Web has a category system for false teaching. We have a category system, or for false teachers. And it's like hurricanes, 1 through 5. 4s and 5s are false teachers, heretics. They're wolves. A 5 is a wolf in wolf's clothing. A 4 is a wolf in sheep's clothing. A 3 is a toss-up. We're not really sure. We can't conclusively say one or the other. And we're not prepared to say that this person's not saved. Saying that someone's a category 4 or 5 is basically saying that they're not saved. And when you call someone a false teacher, that is effectively what you're saying. I got to be above board. I like to be above board about it. I'm trying to be honest and transparent about what words mean when I do discernment. So if you're saying someone's a false teacher, you're saying that they're not saved. And I take that pretty seriously. And I don't flippantly throw that around. I have standards that must be met. That being said, J.D. Hall is a category 2. He's egregiously disqualified or unqualified for ministry. Egregiously. Sadie Robertson Huff is also a category 2, but that's because she makes blatantly theologically unsound statements and is also unqualified for ministry. Or what she's doing, particularly. So that's J.D. Hall. Not a statement on his salvation. We don't know. But it is a statement about his capacity for ministry, which he does not have at the moment. I do hope that J.D. Hall repents. And I want J.D. Hall back in the movement. Not as a leader of the movement, but as a follower and supporter. He can't lead this movement anymore. That's honestly how I feel about that. But Protestia will go on. Evangelical Dark Web will go on. Dissenter will go on. Capstone Report will go on. God has many people who can do this work. We don't need J.D. Hall. And it's sad that we don't have him anymore. But that's really, that's what happened. That's why you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's a biblical statement, or not in the Bible, but it's basically the message, right? And he did not check his sin, and his sin wrecked him. So that's all I got to say about that. This is a sad topic for me. And again, I'm back to doing this, so don't forget to like the video, also subscribe to the channel. My name's Ray. If you really want to support the Evangelical Dark Web, evangelicaldarkweb.org/join. That's where you can go to do that. You can do that for as little as $5 a month. That's our Patreon-like system that we built because Patreon censors and we don't want to get canceled by big tech. So do that if you really want to support us. Otherwise, subscribe, like the video, have a blessed day, and I will catch you on the next one.